Welcome to our Thursday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. Delighted that you are joining us this morning. For anyone that's new, a very warm welcome to you. These sessions are fully guided. They're about 12 minutes or so in length. We save about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A and just updates, announcements, but an opportunity for you to share any resources or ask any questions. But these sessions, we are kicking them off now with John Roberts, who usually stays for about the first 5 minutes or so and connects it back to our Tuesday sessions. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Tara, you've been so kind to invite me into these sessions, just say a few things. And what I wanted to just mention, something that you, I think, know, Tara, is that Zeenat Potia and I wrapped up our 3-session Mindfully Setting Intentions for the New Year series this past Tuesday. And I was wondering if I might tell you one of the things I walked away from Tuesday's session with.
Yeah.
But first, before I do that, I do want to make sure that folks know that the recordings of all 3 sessions that we did in January with Zeenat are now available on our YouTube page and also our Mind the Moment in Everyday Life podcast. So I'm going to drop the links where you can access those things at your convenience into the chat. One moment, please. There we are. Now, Tara, here's what struck me from Tuesday's session.
Yeah.
During her guided meditation, Zeenat said something along these lines. She said, "You are the medicine. Trust your own instincts when it comes to structuring your mindfulness practice."
Yeah.
This made me think of a few things. First of all, that this is a wonderful sentiment, but of course it does not mean that one should not seek out teachers or mentors, right? Having a teacher or mentor, in my experience at least with mindfulness practice, is hugely important.
Yeah.
I think about if anyone out there has ever tried to make a cake from a recipe that was just text with no pictures, and then they made the same cake again after watching a video of a professional do it, describing and visualizing each step. It's probably the case that the cake you make after watching the video just turns out a little bit better, right? And that's not even mentioning what would happen if you simply tried to make a cake after having had it described to you without a recipe at all. Anyone who's ever watched the technical challenge sections of the Great British Bake Off knows this can have unintended consequences, even for the most skilled and ardent amateurs. So it is certainly a significant thing to seek out a teacher. I think you would agree with me, Tara. Somebody who embodies, the embodiment of mindfulness in a way that makes sense to you as an individual, which I think is really the point when it comes to this idea of trusting your own instincts. Mindfulness can be embodied, brought to life in just so many different ways. I think of the way that the role of Hamlet has been portrayed 1,000 different ways by 1,000 different actors across the centuries, even though they're all working from the same script. And so one of the things which I love about what we do here at Living Well is we offer this opportunity to learn about mindfulness from a variety of teachers. And Tara, this is what you do in those Wednesday morning sessions that you lead, where you have a guest instructor with you so that people can hear different voices describing what mindfulness is, what it means to them. Hear a lot of different ways about thinking about how to practice mindfulness so that you can find the tributary of the Mother River that speaks to you, that matches your lifestyle, that matches your belief system. And then, of course, we continue to refine that understanding over time as our life circumstances and what's alive for us sort of grows and changes and dips and rises and persists. Tara, does that ring true with your own experience?
Yeah, no, I think especially, John, as I think about over the years of my practice, certain teachers that really resonated with me at different points of my practice, who I will always consider a teacher, but there are others that speak to me in a way now that those early teachers didn't. So I think that's significant. The other thing is with Zeenat, one of the things that I loved that she said is be your own teacher. You are ultimately your own teacher, which I think ties in with your point, John, around trusting, but also having guidance along the way with those that have been ahead of us.
I'm reminded, Tara, of something that you often say in your workshops, which is in this practice, we are, or we can be at least, both the scientist and the subject. the
Yes.
observer and the observed,
Yes.
the telescope and the star. And speaking of science, Tara, I cannot help but segue into something I'm very excited about, which is our session on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, January 28th, where we will be interviewing a scientist. That's the mindfulness researcher, David Vago. So again, that's Tuesday, January 28th, 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern. This is when Mind the Moment in everyday life becomes the art and science of awareness, as it will on the last Tuesday of every month. Tara, I wonder if I could ask you what you're most excited about talking with Dave Vago
Yeah, but
about.
Dave,
Yeah.
yeah, and he's somebody John and I met like many years ago and have kept in touch with. Really interesting guy. But I'm really interested in hearing about some of his research related to neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, but also as it relates to how these practices impact brain health. And also another area for him is pain, physical pain. So I think he's going to be, I think these are like micro conversations, but we're asking the researchers to really kind of hone in on what is going to be most valuable in this short period of time for people to actually walk away with. So brain health, I guess, overall, really excited.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Tara, the pain thing is also sort of on my mind. I I know that Dave's research that has touched on the area of like chronic pain has as
Yeah.
an element the fact that the brain learns to anticipate pain and therefore becomes hyper vigilant to the appearance of triggers that may cause pain, which can be
Mm.
problematic because you're not just experiencing the pain, you're also experiencing the pain of imagining the pain happening, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I think it's mainly physical pain that's being studied in those
Right.
studies. But we live in uncertain, tumultuous times, even. And I wonder if there's a similar mechanism that causes the brain to anticipate psychologically painful situations. And I
Oh,
wonder if
yeah.
the brain experiences even greater distress if it learns to anticipate the appearance of psychological pain,
Right.
even if there's not an actual trigger present. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping Dave might touch on that and whether or not mindfulness can help us in managing
Yeah.
those
And John,
symptoms.
we're going to have the opportunity to ask questions. So, you can,
Ooh,
yes.
Tara, I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because one thing that we are inviting folks to do in our Living Well community, anyone watching right now, you're a part of our Living Well community, is to, join in that conversation with Dave. Join us. We'll be making it interactive with participants, but you can also leave us questions in advance on our Facebook page that we'll add into our list. So I just dropped into the chat the link to our Facebook page and
Great.
also a link to where you can find out a bit more about this whole art and science of awareness interview series.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Tara. I'll leave
Yeah.
it there, but thank you again
Okay.
for the time. And have a great meditation. Great to see
Thanks.
everyone this
Thanks,
morning.
John. See
All
you
right.
later. Okay, everybody. So let's go ahead and settle right in to a posture that feels like it's going to be most supportive to you this morning. So if you're tired, standing practice is a great practice, or if you just feel like standing, otherwise seated, also lying down. I always caution lying down a little bit. If you're tired, it's suggestive of sleep, but it's also a fine posture. And your eyes, as always, can be open or closed. So if you keep them open, just gaze downward a little bit. So let's go ahead and settle into our posture. Take 2 deep breaths on your own, making your exhalation a little bit longer than your inhalation. And surrendering your weight into the support of the ground below, yet maintaining a posture that's engaged. So not too tight and not too loose. Letting go of all that has already happened so far this morning, including John's words, releasing anticipation of what's next, even the very next moment. Just allowing yourself to arrive fully here, mind and body. The mind is often a great time traveler. So we're settling in here in this moment, nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. Grounding this present awareness in the very moment that we're in by feeling what's happening in your body. So pulsing, vibration, tingling, as John mentioned, scientist and subject, receiving the physical sensations occurring in your body from your activity this morning. Feeling into the points of contact with the back of the body and the surface. Feeling from the inside out. And taking a moment to look at the attitude in the mind. Receptive. Is the mind receptive? Is the mind curious? Those are helpful attitudes to bring to practice. And if it's other than that, we back up and receive that. So we simply notice agitation, judgment, whatever is present, as soon as we see it, it's allowed. We just simply allow it. The actual seeing of it tends to weaken it a little bit. So we see, we feel the physicality of that emotion, that mental state in the body. So just simply allowing the physical sensations, feeling from the inside what's happening, knowing what's happening. Tingling, pulsing, vibration, points of contact. Allow. Maybe it feels good, pleasant. Maybe it doesn't, unpleasant. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle, neither one of those, but it's occurring. And let's take a moment to open awareness to receive sound. So, sound in the room or outside of the room that you're in. And the mind, your attention, awareness doesn't have to leap out, literally receptive to whatever is happening in the surrounding room. Just soft mental note hearing. And let's go ahead and find an anchor for the wandering mind. So knowing that the mind is going to wander, thoughts are going to slip in unnoticed, and then they'll be noticed. It could be me just making a mental note, noticing my own wandering, and just asking you to see if your mind is wandering. Not a problem. We'll just release the narrative, the planning, the worry, the memory, and return again to a stabilizer. So you have lots of options here. You could use the breath anywhere in the body you feel it. So it could be that you feel the carriage of the body moving. So it's a broader. So as you inhale and exhale, or it could be the belly, the abdomen, kind of or the chest, or even the nostrils. So you have some options here. Breathing in and breathing out, and tracking the breath, tracking the sensations. And as the mind wanders and you notice, not a problem, nothing at all to be frustrated about. You're doing it correctly. And just simply release, soften the body. There's always a contraction with thought that we usually don't notice. And then return again to your anchor. Alternatively, you could take your palms of your hands and just rest them on the top of your thighs, and the points of contact could be what you return to. Perhaps there's a different body sensation that's easy for you to connect with. feet on the ground, and sound is an option. So go ahead and see what might work for you. And noticing where your mind is. Gently letting go of the narrative, the memory, or the planning. Allow the body to soften and return. And again, noticing where the mind is. And as we bring our meditation to a close, may we be peaceful and at ease. May our heart be soft and open. May we be safe and protected, and our bodies healthy and strong. And may whatever good comes of our practice be a benefit to all beings. So, taking a moment, if the eyes were closed, to open the eyes, and just reorient to the room, maybe do a little bit of a stretch. And I forgot to mention, if you haven't opened the chat, please please do that and go to the drop down menu and select everyone. Um, I want to read just a short piece from a book that Sharon Salzberg wrote many, many years ago. Sharon, I'm sure that many of you know who she is. She's one of the founders of the Insight Meditation Society in Barrie, which has been the place that I've been practicing for many, many years. And so a long time ago, she wrote a book, A Heart as Wide as the World. And it gosh, I think it was late 90s maybe that she wrote the book. But of course, these practices, these teachings hold up. But I just took another look at it again after many years, and there's so many gems. But one thing I want to read: through meditation practice, we learn to enter into silence. Oh, let me just also say it's an opportunity to bring to bear the practice. So we've just settled our minds. So now you're going to just turn toward the words, receiving the words. And again, noticing, how the mind wanders. It's all okay. Through meditation practice, we learn to enter into silence, and there the fruits of the practice reveal themselves. Wisdom, which is seen deeply into the true nature of life, and compassion, the trembling of the heart in response to suffering. Wisdom reveals that we are all part of a whole, and compassion tells us that we can never really stand apart. Through the prism, we see life with openness, knowing our oneness, our connectedness. We find wisdom and compassion coming to life, transforming how we understand ourselves and how we understand our world. And compassion and wisdom were always thought of the two wings of a bird, and it's hard to have one without the other. And so it's really foundational to practice this idea of compassion and wisdom. And the wisdom really is just, we're seeing clearly how things actually are, not how we wish they were or how we want them to be, but it's a clarity of seeing. And through that, we're able to see our habit patterns of mind, watch what our minds do, what we lean into, what we grasp, what we push away. And we see it with a kind of open-hearted, compassionate, kind lens. We also can see those habit patterns of mind that serve us and other people well. And so let me just open it up to questions or comments. I see John has put the links to the ZNet sessions, but also to the upcoming sessions, like with Dave on Tuesday. And we would love to have you join us and share with family, friends, colleagues, and think about questions that you might have about brain health. Dave's been studying the impact of mindfulness on the health of the brain for a long time, and finding some really interesting things. So, oh, the name of the book. Yes. So I'm going to put it right up here. So it's called A Heart as Wide as the World by Sharon Salzberg. So it's an absolute gem. And relatable, it's, and I think for these uncertain times that we're in, kind of, like I find myself really leaning into compassion practices, self-compassion, and just compassion for others. And the beauty of that, the compassion or, loving kindness practices is that, you can do it anytime. You can do it while you're standing in the grocery line, or if you see somebody who you think for whatever reason could use a little bit of dose of loving kindness, like you can just offer that. So, and by doing that, we are inclining the mind in this particular way. I mean, I love how this is even called a practice, because what we're doing is we're just inclining the mind in a certain direction toward goodness and pro-social kind of qualities of mind and heart. And as Sharon has always said, and many of my teachers, like you don't actually have to feel these qualities. It's just that you even have the intent to want to um, feel these qualities. And so we just keep training the mind. Um, yeah. So as I see people that seem to be suffering, whether they are or not, doesn't even matter. But I will just offer just a silent, may you be well and have peace of mind and heart. And again, like the beauty, you can make up your own phrases. Other thoughts or comments? Also, it's an opportunity to share a book or an app or a podcast that you've come across that you really like. Feel free to offer that to the community. Well, if there's nothing else, we're at 8:59, so um, I'm gonna just call it there, and we will see you next Tuesday at noon. So we no longer have the 8:30 to 9 Tuesday morning practice. We've moved that to 12 to 12:30, and the last Tuesday of the month, which will be next week, um, will be Day Vago. So I think that's it. Have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend, and we will see you next week. Okay, bye everybody.